Time for another Nintendo Power Review, and today I'm going to be covering Volume 39, the Mario Paint issue. And just to give you an idea of how far in advance I record some of these videos, I'm recording this on Christmas Day, and I just felt like getting into the Christmas spirit with a particularly colorful issue of Nintendo Power. And this was the most colorful one that I could find. So right off the bat, we've got a pretty excellent table of contents here. And I'm looking forward to this issue because I've never actually read this one before. So we've got Gargoyle's Quest 2, we've got Kirby's Dream Land. Kirby's Dream Land, that was actually my first video game, kind of. I had played other games before that, but the first game I ever owned was Kirby's Dream Land. And I've never read the Nintendo Power coverage of that game, so I have no idea what to expect. We've also got Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time, which is a very beloved game. Let's see what we've got in the Player's Pulse this month, the letters section. So yeah, this month the letters section is mostly letters from parents and grandparents. Let's take one for example. From Robert in Tennessee, it says, "It's time you establish a seniors division. Until you do, I lay claim to being the oldest man alive who has completed both quests of The Legend of Zelda, The Adventure of Link, Final Fantasy, Chrysalis, and Star Tropics. I play by the following rules. I accept no hints or suggestions from any source, and I make my own maps. After I finish, I consult Nintendo Power to see what I've missed. I am looking forward to the holidays so I can buy my son a Super NES and prevent him from using it." The last line really makes that letter kind of awesome, actually. This is from August of 1992. August 1992, this issue. Wow. So here we've got Gargoyle's Quest 2, which is one of the Firebrand games. I really like these games a lot. I like Demon's Crest. First Gargoyle's Quest is an awesome time. That was the Game Boy one. Regardless, Gargoyle's Quest 2, that's hard to say, for the NES. Really fun, moody game from Capcom. It's just got, like a certain je ne sais quoi about it that it feels like something you should play on Halloween. We've got Contra Force. Now, I just want to note, we're going to have to get a closer look at this. The artwork for the game, this is actually the box art as well, is kind of interesting. It's very rugged and gruff. You've got a bunch of like really tough dudes with guns, and there's a helicopter dropping missiles like right on them. It's quite grizzled and rugged for sure. Speaking of grizzled and rugged, you've got the four main characters. You've got Burns, the leader of Contra Force, and Smith, the sharpshooter of the team, who is all business. And then there's Iron, who looks like he just hit some heroin because he's clutching his arm. He's got a bazooka. He seems perhaps like the most grizzled of the group, played by Dolph Lundgren. And then you've got Beans, who's probably the newbie of the group because he looks like he's about 16 years old. And he's the bomb guy. He lays bombs and mines and stuff. Now we've got another really interesting picture over here. You've got, I think it's Burns. Is that Burns? I'm not sure. One of the guys, he's holding a gun, and he's being attacked by the final boss. The final boss is this really big bad dude, and he jumps out of his helicopter, and yeah, he's a tough fight. As I recall, there's some way to gimp the fight. If you stand in one particular spot, he can't hit you, or something like that. But regardless, yeah, the artwork, whoever did the artwork for these pictures, they really made the game look badass and hardcore, if you will. So now we come to classified information, which has the Street Fighter 2 secret code that you can see on the cover here. They have Street Fighter 2 secret code. So what is the secret code, you ask? Well, it's a big one. It is the mirror match code for the ultimate match, where you can fight yourself, basically. You can do a Ryu versus Ryu match, which up to that point you couldn't do in Street Fighter 2. Now, we take stuff like that for granted now, but in the time of this game and the original Mortal Kombat as well, I'm pretty sure you couldn't both choose the same character. This month's Zelda comic features Rome the Mystery Knight. And he is a badass. He can transform into a bird, and he battles Link here for a moment, and Link actually gets the better of him. So Link kills his heat right out of the gate, but Rome is still a pretty badass dude. He wields a crossbow. He appears in none of the Zelda games. He was created just for this comic, kind of like Houston, the guy in the blue armor from the Super Metroid comics. We've got a great atmospheric shot of the Swamp Palace in the middle of this page right here. It really captures the desolation and solitude of the swamp. And the Swamp Palace is actually one of the palaces in Link to the Past that I really like. Link goes into the palace, it's dry as a tomb. He ends up having to go to the light world and pull a switch to add water to the palace in the dark world. And of course the Swamp Palace then floods at the worst possible time, and all three of them go spinning into oblivion. And that's it for that episode. Very exciting episode. Next up, we've got Kirby's Dream Land, finally. This is, again, the box art for the game right here on full display. Very colorful, enticing box art. I actually bought this game entirely based off of the box art because it was just so colorful and interesting. It just looked like something that would be a lot of fun to play. We've got the baddies, the enemies. We've got all of them here. I love the way Nintendo Power would do this. They would introduce the power-ups to you, they'd introduce the enemies to you, and you'd be looking at this stuff and you'd be like, wow, this looks so fun. I can't wait to fight all these guys. Poor Wispy Woods. I feel like Wispy Woods, he just minds his own business, and then Kirby comes along and you know, beats him up for a few minutes, and then it's just like, he's just minding his own business. You know, Kirby could just go around him. I understand that he's like in Kirby's way, but Kirby just go around him. He's just a tree, you know, he can't chase you. I'd like it if one of these days Kirby just like cut Wispy Woods some slack and just like, you know. So here we've got Castle Lololo. This level is a big step up from the first one in challenge. Primarily the boss of this level. You have to fight these two crate pushing dudes at the same time. And they're quite difficult to defeat, especially if this is your first, you know, real video game. If this is the first game you've ever owned, and you have to fight two bosses at once that are coming at you, you know, on all these multiple levels. I just had so much trouble with that particular fight. And finally, my babysitter actually had to do the fight for me. She was just a really kind-hearted person. I think her name was Lisa. She was gorgeous too, just gorgeous, kind-hearted, just great. She was just great company to have around. And she actually won this fight for me. Turns out she was actually pretty decent at video games too. And after that, I was able to beat the rest of the game that day because she got the tough part out of the way for me. And I actually beat the remainder of the game before I actually beat Lololo and La La La. I'm assuming that I enlisted her help again during the rematch because there's a boss rush later on. So whenever the rematch was, I guess I got her to defeat these guys for me again. But yeah, they were definitely my kryptonite. And after I beat the game, I actually went back and tried these guys some more, and I had the confidence at that point to actually defeat them. And then we've got stage 4, the cloud domain. This level is really awesome, and it's got some hidden doorways in it. So this was a level that actually captured my imagination back in the day. I would go around trying to find hidden doors. I'd be like pressing up everywhere. Any spot that looked anything out of the ordinary, I'd go and search for a hidden door there. And I like that Nintendo Power doesn't actually show you what King Dedede looks like. It just, you know, gives you some heads up on what's going to happen in this level. You got some areas, you got some bosses to fight. Once you get past all the bosses, it's time for the big boss. But who is he? What does he look like? We don't know. We see his face in one of the screenshots, but that's about it. So they don't give away the final boss. Good on them. So now moving on, we've got Super Mario Adventures. We've got our heroes blowing up Bowser's castle. And then it says the end, and it makes you think that the comic is now over, but that's just a fake out ending. So they buy some bombs from this weapons dealer, Friendly Floyd, who it turns out is actually a big part of the military industrial complex. Also, the princess and Luigi swap outfits, and they both basically cross-dress. But yeah, they blow up Bowser's castle, but then it turns out that the adventure's not over yet. And then a bunch of toads parachute down from the sky. I don't want to talk about it. And then Bowser kidnaps the princess again, and Yoshi eats some Koopas. And it turns out that he has an infinite metabolism. So, you know, eventually Yoshi eats so many Koopas that he sprouts wings. And I just want to say that Yoshi is just really comical to look at in these shots. He has so much personality, and all he says is Yoshi and yum. You know, it's fun to watch Yoshi in action on these pages. Moving on, we've got Counselor's Corner. It's got a couple of games that I haven't played, Wizards and Warriors 3. Finally, we come to Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. This is a fantastic two-player game. It's a fantastic one-player game too. Each of the 4 turtles has their own special attacks. At this point in time, I was like obsessed with Ninja Turtles, and quite frankly, I think everyone else was too. So one of the big reasons for that was the villain lineup. Ninja Turtles has some of the best villains around. So who do we have for this one, you ask? We've got Baxter Stockman, Metalhead, the Mecha Turtle. We've got the Rat King. We've got Toka and Razor. We've got Shredder himself, but he's only the halfway point boss of the game. And then after that, you've got Slash, the mutant turtle. He's big and bad. And then you've got Rocksteady and Bebop, the old classic standbys. You've got Leatherhead the alligator. You've got Krang in all his glory, his main body, and then you fight him again in a capsule, which is possibly a shout out to Mega Man. And then after that, I believe you fight Shredder, maybe? Yeah, the game, or Nintendo Power once again doesn't give away the final boss. So I believe there's one more level after this where you fight Super Shredder, but good on Nintendo Power for not giving that away. They make it look like Krang's the final boss, but then they leave a little bit of doubt. Like, guess who's next? And there's a little tiny picture of the Technodrome, and you're like, huh, there's another level after this. Speaking of the levels, they have great names like Big Apple 3 AM, the first level. I've been in the Big Apple at 3 AM. It's surprisingly not quiet. A lot of activity at 3 AM. Oh wow, check this out. So we've got the maps for the game on the poster here, but they actually do give away the final boss in the maps. They don't give it away in like the regular coverage over here, but if you look at the end of the maps here, the end of the fold out, you see AD 1992, the final Shell Shock, where you fight Super Shredder. But they don't show you Super Shredder. They don't even tell you it's Super Shredder. They just say Shredder, Boss Shredder, and they don't show him. Kind of cool. What's on the poster itself, you ask? Felix the Cat. I believe I've covered that one already. So now we come to the cover game, which is Mario Paint for the Super NES. This game was so cool back before the time of Photoshop, Microsoft Paint. Even before the time when a mouse was something that everyone had experience using. This is the Super NES mouse, and this predates most people's exposure to the internet by years. And you get to draw, create. You can even compose music on this thing. But hey, you don't need me to tell you about it. Everybody knows what Mario Paint is. Everybody knows how cool it is. Funny thing about Mario Paint is, I remember that as a kid I wasn't that interested in it, which is kind of odd because I was super interested in creating things. I liked art, I liked music, but I really just liked creating my own things. So you'd think I would have jumped all over Mario Paint, but for whatever reason I didn't. I think I saw the Super NES as more of just a game system, not really a tool for creation, if you will. The one thing that really appealed to me about Mario Paint, because I did rent it just to play around with it, and the one thing that really appealed to me was the coffee break mini game where you swap flies with the Super NES mouse. You have to like click the fly swatter and swat all the flies. That was the part that I liked. And then there's like a big boss fly that you have to fight. I think there are 3 levels of it. And but yeah, I was much more into that than I was into the actual creation tools, which are the point of the game. They also let you animate, which this is cool. I gotta get a close-up shot of this. You can have like multiple frames of animation, and Here they have someone casting a spell and it bounces off Link's shield. Mario Paint is awesome. I think the only way it could have been better, even though it wasn't my bag personally, I mean, just looking at this, it really is a cool idea. And I think the only way it could have been better is if it had an online component, even though it couldn't have at the time. If something like this came out now, they'd be able to integrate the internet with it, and people would be able to share their creations online. People could compose and draw and whatever else, and they could share it with other people, and that would be really cool. You could have like websites devoted to Mario Paint galleries. People could submit artwork, stuff like that. It would just be a really fun time. I mean, just look at Mario Maker. Ever since Mario Maker came out, a lot of the levels people have designed for Mario Maker are actually musical levels, where they find a way to automate Mario as he moves through the level, and everything he does triggers different sound effects, and it ends up coming off like a song. It ends up creating music. So if people are willing to create music in Mario Maker, I think they'd love to get their hands on a Mario Paint that makes music creation, quick and easy and fun. I think a lot of people would jump all over that. But who knows? I mean, these days we've got all these programs. We got SoundCloud. We've got so many tools now that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Mario Paint, wouldn't be that interesting now because we have so many other tools that basically do the same stuff, only better. I don't know. They might want to think about making a new Mario Paint for the new generation that just makes things a little more accessible, makes creation tools more accessible to the mainstream and to young people especially. In any case, onward. All right, we've got Now Playing. It looks like George and Rob are still at it, and they're doing a little bit of Ninja Turtles cosplay this month. So yeah, let's see what they say about Kirby's Dream Land. Because I was thinking earlier about how would I have approached Kirby's Dream Land if I had read this magazine before I played it, before I bought it, compared to going in with just a fresh perspective. So let's see what they had to say about it, because I'm sure this would have informed and influenced my own perception of Kirby's Dream Land once I got it. It says, Kirby is a cartoonish character who can fly, breathe in enemies, and spit them out in a powerful gust. Let me just interrupt for a second there. When I was a kid, I had so much trouble describing Kirby's Dream Land to other people because I always had teachers kind of watching me like a hawk and making sure I didn't say anything wrong or say anything that offended anybody or anything like that. One time I said that an eraser smelled like fish, and I got sent to the principal's office because a teacher heard it and thought that I was telling another kid that he smelled like fish. And I dealt with stuff like that on a pretty regular basis, and it was pretty tedious for sure. I just want to say I had so much trouble describing Kirby's Dream Land to other people at the time because you couldn't say like sucks or blows or anything like that. So you'd be trying to describe like what does Kirby do? Well, he sucks the enemies in and then he kind of blows them out. And it's like if a teacher heard me talking like that, I would have been suspended for probably the rest of the week. And I couldn't say that he swallowed the enemies either. Absolutely could not say that. Sometimes he can swallow the enemies. No, you can't say that. So I'd be like, he breathes in the enemies and then he like fires them at other enemies. And people would be like, oh, he has a gun? And I'd be like, no. And I'd be like trying to figure out a way to describe the game. And I'm just, I don't know. Thinking back on it, there was such a bunch of silliness when it comes down to it. Just total silliness. Anyway, I was just a kid, I was just trying to be a kid, and these teachers were like constantly, with their dirty minds, constantly looking for things that were, wrong. But anyway, let's continue with the description. It says, this 5-stage adventure follows Kirby as he floats through the forests, mazes, and castles of Dreamland in an attempt to keep the baddies from taking over. So what does George say? George says, Kirby has a very unique way of attacking his enemies. Uh-oh, I think he's going to tiptoe around it too. He consumes them and spits them back out. Whoa! He consumes them and spits them back out at the other enemies. That and the excellent play control make Kirby's Dream Land a really fun game. Rob says Kirby is kind of marshmallowish, which could lead you to think that the game is geared only towards very young players. But it does offer plenty of challenges for more experienced players as well. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it'd be a fun game for an adult, no doubt, but it's not really challenging unless it's like your first or second game. Anyway, I'd like to see an NES or Super NES version. Well, guess what, Rob? You're gonna get your wish. And then some. Kirby's gonna be around for a long time. Maybe Kirby could take on the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man or the Pillsbury Doughboy. Okay, Rob. Kirby's Dream Land got really high marks in the score department. So did Turtles in Time. Turtles in Time actually broke a 4 on basically every category, except for a theme, which only got a 3.8. So finally, we're almost through this issue. We got the top 20. Top of the NES charts, Super Mario Bros. 3. Top of the Game Boy charts, Super Mario Land, with Metroid 2, the perennial number 2 contender, hanging in there. Super NES charts, we got Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past at a well-deserved number 1 with a bullet. 32,000 votes for A Link to the Past. The runner-up, Super Mario World, with just under 9,000 votes, 8,700 for Super Mario World. In other words, A Link to the Past almost quadrupled, actually, yeah, very close to quadrupled Super Mario World's votes. The player profile this month is Jazzy Jeff in the Fresh Prince. I'm gonna get a good close-up shot of that. Pack Watch, we've got Axley on the way, one of the best shooters ever right there. And that does it for volume 39, August 1992. Good stuff.